Hello, hello, and welcome to our Leap for Ladies Thrive Thursday Masterclass. And I love these because we give the opportunity for our Leap members to be able to share their knowledge, which I'm all about contributing our knowledge to other women entrepreneurs, but also just to anybody who happens to find us on the internet, right? So this will go up on YouTube. You might be watching this on LinkedIn or Instagram, and we just love that we get to share our knowledge with each other and with the world in general. And today I am super excited about our Thrive Thursday Masterclass teacher. It is one of my BFFs and an amazing businesswoman out there. Her name is Suzanne Mitchell with Zamar Screen Printing. She's been in business for over 32 years. You're going to hear some amazing stories about the ups and downs that she's experienced as a business owner in those 32 years. The learning curves, the curves that life throws at us, and all of those kind of things in between. That if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to relate to something in Suzanne's story. And she's sharing her knowledge with us today on how to build resilience in our life and business. So, with that, we will let you take it away, Suzanne.
Thank you so much for having me. It'll be great. All right. I was married at 20 years old, and man, I had a plan. I was going to work for a couple years. I was going to settle down, buy a house, have kids. It was all worked out. It was going to be simple, doable, easy plan. Then one morning, the phone rang, and little did I know that was going to change my life and my plans forever. Imagine watching your dreams, your security, your livelihood disappear in a single moment. That's where I was at. You might be sitting here thinking, what in heaven's name happened? Well, my husband's company that he worked for, where he was the production manager, was literally up in flames. It was burning to the ground. They called us to tell us it was a fire. And in an instant, his job was gone. The paycheck we depended on gone. The life we'd built was suddenly up in smoke. And actually, we got caught in a lawsuit. It was a intentionally set fire next door in the electrical unit, but my husband and I were the last ones that were there. We had been there the night before, so we got wrapped up in the lawsuit. But maybe you've experienced things like that in your life that feel so monumental. How are you going to get by them? And in those moments, you can freeze or you can fight. And we chose to fight. So back in the 90s, everybody and their brother had screen printing equipment in the garage. If you worked for a screen printer, if you made t-shirts, you did it on the side. Everybody did it as a side gig, including us. So we had some very, very basic screen printing equipment in our garage, and that's how Zamar screen printing was born. Why am I telling you this story? Well, not only is it my origin story of where I came from and what we've done in 30 years, but it's really a story of resilience. When I look back, I see that every time I faced any sort of challenges in life, I've had followed three really important steps that have helped me adapt, change, and be resilient. So I'm going to share those three steps with you. So I believe the three steps to resilience in both life and business are number one, your words. It's so important what you say to yourself. Your focus is the next most important thing. And then the actual actions that you take. Because the way we talk to ourselves really, really affects the overall outcome. So I feel like the word fail is so defeating. And even as a child, through most of my life, I've never said I failed at anything. I've just always said, well, that didn't work out like I wanted. And I'm willing to pivot left or right or whatever it is, but I really choose to look at it differently. I've never been a person that said, man, I failed at that. That's it. I can't do it. I failed. Because I think we have to adapt, not fail. And that's how you keep moving forward. And so Zamar was born out of a whole lot of necessity and youthful ambition because I was pretty sure we could do anything. So thankfully, we were young when we started because, man, we made our fair share of mistakes. And I'm sure you all have too. In business, I got really rough financing that was so expensive for us with some of those initial machines. We had struggles with sales. I didn't have a sales degree, I didn't know anything about sales. And all these guys that had all these skills in screen printing were looking at me to be the salesperson because they didn't have that skill. They could produce all kinds of stuff, but they didn't know how to sell. So we had all those things kind of going against us. But I think our sheer stick to itness kept us going. I just refused to quit. No matter how many times we had to course correct, I wouldn't quit. So I think, if you say to yourself, I'm never going to make this work, well, you've kind of already lost. You really have to say positive words to yourself. So I want you today to think about a challenge you might be having. This could be at home, at work, it could be something simple with, say, working out, health, whatever it is. And I want you to say something positive to yourself. If it's a business struggle, maybe I'm a really good business owner. I'm smart. I'm resourceful. Whatever it is, think of something you could say to yourself that's positive. So I'll give you a minute to do that. And if you're watching this as the recording, you might pause it and think about your challenge. So I'll give you just a minute. All right, we will go to key two, which is our focus. So, what you pay attention to grows. So, if you focus on nothing but the obstacles, man, do they get bigger and bigger. No matter what kind of situation you're in, if you just start thinking about all the bad things that could happen, man, that can get to be a pretty ridiculous list. We can talk ourselves into a hole. But if we focus on solutions, you usually can find a way forward. You can think of something. It's like, okay, what could I do? So, when facing business struggles, I think it's pretty easy to spiral into panic. This is your livelihood, this is what you do. It's easy to panic. But instead of saying, man, I'm in over my head, why don't you think, what's one step I could do today to move forward? That's exactly what we did in 2008. Man, did times get lean. I don't know how many of you remember '08, but the economy just went to the bottom. I had clients who spent $30,000, $40,000 at trade shows that would come back the next year and have 1,000. So if every client had those kind of volume drops, sales were in the tank. But I decided I'm going to have to focus on what we do have. Right now, what do we have? And what we had was our creativity, our resourcefulness. Maybe my clients weren't spending so much, but what could we do? So I got pretty creative. I decided I had my staff doing anything and everything to make extra money. We delivered phone books. I called a company and I said, okay, rather than paying individuals, just pay my company contract. We'll do it for you. And I sent my staff out to do that. There's a card company that glues on little seed papers to cards. I had them contract my company. We did that in our building. I did anything and everything to keep moving forward and keep my people. I had such good people I didn't want to lose. So when you do face a challenge, you got to give yourself a day or two to cry it out because, it's easy to just feel like things are totally overwhelming. But if you shift right into solutions, you can find a way out. So I want you to think back to your challenge right now. What were you thinking about? And maybe what's one positive aspect out of that challenge that you have? What's one positive thing you do have? What could you build on to get where you want to go to fix this challenge? I'll give you a minute to think about that. All right. So small steps create huge change. So success isn't, I think, waiting for that perfect moment. It's about showing up and taking small steps every day. Because taking that first step in a crisis is by far the hardest. Right when something's happening, to be able to step forward and do something is really hard. But if you stand there, it's sort of like quicksand. Pretty soon you're sinking and it's getting harder and harder, and you're up to your neck, and it's hard to get out. So I think resilience is really about small, consistent steps. My youngest son plays ice hockey, and his coaches always say, never let your feet stop moving. So if you've ever watched a hockey player, they're never standing still. They're always slightly moving. They've always got their feet moving. They're kind of moving forward and backwards. That's because they can take off in an instant in any direction. They are literally ready to go because they've got speed building up already. And I think that's true in business. If you hit a crisis and freeze, restarting feels really impossible. But if you've always got momentum going, it's not so bad to get on that and start building. So that's why resilience isn't really about reacting right in that moment. It's being prepared and taking small steps every single day in your business to go towards success. Because you don't show up on social media in one day, you don't build that great newsletter list overnight. You have to do that in tiny daily actions that build and build and build till suddenly you're going full speed. In our 10th year, Zamar was robbed. Blank checks were taken right out of the drawer in broad daylight during office hours. We had a check cashing ring that had cased the whole development. They knew when people went to lunch, they knew when the offices were not occupied. They had watched that. And on a particular day, they watched all three of us office ladies leave at the same time. And they came in, and we didn't have a doorbell at the time. They came in and they were smart enough to take the check stock from the back of the numbers because they knew we'd notice right away if the numbers were out of sequence. So they took the check stock from the back, and we didn't have online banking. We didn't have text banking. This is clear back in what, 2003. None of that had started. And it wasn't until we got our actual reconciliation form in the bank and somebody came to me and they said, what is this string of checks? It was like 8 checks. They had been written out and typed out as payroll checks and cashed. So $23,000 disappeared from our account in one statement. So, was it easy to stay calm? No. Was I tempted to completely break down, lose it? Absolutely. But I had to look at what we did have. And here's the thing, we didn't sink because we'd already built a foundation of small, steady steps. The habits, the systems, all the discipline we'd put in place, that's what kept us afloat. Did the money hurt? Yes. But we had resilience because we'd been preparing for resilience all along. So that's why the little things do matter. The small daily actions you take, the persistence, the momentum, it all adds up. And when a crisis hits, you're not starting from zero. You're already moving. And then you can pivot and do whatever you need to do to get to the next step. So you definitely have to stick with it, dig in, and really do it. So think about your challenge today and think, what's one small step you can do to move forward on that challenge? If it's a business challenge, this LEAP group is amazing. This is a powerhouse of women. Somebody probably has advice for you, can help you do what you need to do. So think about your challenge and what's one thing you can do today to move forward. Okay, now that you've reflected a little bit, ladies, on some of these, I'll ask you, is there something you'd like to share? Just one tip or a key you thought of or a step you're going to take? Share something with me you can think.
Yeah, I'll go through my three little questions here. So my challenge is growing my YouTube channel because I set the goal last year to grow it to 1,000 followers. I was at 32 at the time, and I was like, I still don't know how I'm going to do that, but it is growing. So the positive thing when I look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get to 1,000, right? And but then the positive thinking I need to remind myself is I've already quadrupled that number. We're already at close to 130, right? So not
Great.
nearly
Yeah.
to 1,000, but when I started at 32, right, I've quadrupled that number. So it is growing slowly, and I'm not putting super amounts of effort into it, just, keeping it in front of people and putting content up there for the Leap community. So that was the first shift, is like, okay, instead of this insurmountable thing like how will I ever get there, it's like, oh, I am getting there, right? Just shifting that and reminding myself about that. And then the next piece was the what's the next step? I didn't write it down. So,
The
the
focus. What do you,
focus, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I already do have content that's regularly going up there, and we get to showcase all of the Leap for Ladies podcasts and Member Monday spotlights and things like that. So there is content that goes up, great content that goes up on the channel. So that's good. And then the action step was really having my virtual assistant research what can we do to make the video descriptions even more SEO friendly so that people can search for those and find those. And then somebody gave me this tip a couple weeks ago, is to have at the end of our videos, have it lead just to the next Leap video. Instead of just they would have to go find the next one, just have it automatically start the next video of the next Thrive Masterclass or the next podcast or something like that. So and then put a line in the description that says, hey, for more content like this, check out the Lead for Ladies, page or whatever. So those are some action steps that I can take, that I can hand off to somebody to take. But,
Yeah.
simple tweaks that can help just keep people on our channel, give the Lead for Ladies members more exposure, and also, help us get more subscribers.
That's great awareness. Thank you so much for
Mm-hmm.
sharing. And you're
Yeah.
right. Just that, taking what somebody else said as a, you should try this and using that, that's so powerful. That's why these
Mm-hmm.
classes and our network is so huge. We learn so much from those people and can get all this information for free and
Yes. Yeah.
really be able to, yeah, help people. So thank you so much for sharing, Mary.
Yeah, thanks. It's always good to go through this exercise and just, that positive reframe it's so easy to get down on ourselves as business owners, and
Oh,
just
right.
shifting things to what am I doing that's right? What's the impact I am having on the clients that I am working with, even if I don't have as many clients as I want or whatever it is, right? So that positive reframe is such a valuable tool, and we need to hear it from multiple people in multiple ways and get that reminder all the time. So thanks for doing that for me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Mary.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Do you have anything, Whitney, from one spot?
Yeah. Um, so the challenge that I'm working on right now is to create some ads. So I
Mm,
finished the script and now
Yeah.
I just have to record it. So I'm thinking, record the first version, like for
yes.
not worrying about making it perfect, but just doing enough drafts until there's, something to work with there.
Absolutely. That's great. And that is that whole just starting. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is going to be so difficult. And recording it once gives you so much confidence. Like, okay, I can do this. And then you can always re record it. But the fact you
Hmm.
did it the first time, the second time doesn't feel near as hard. But sometimes it is that first step. And if you just let it linger, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, it gets harder and harder and harder in your mind. It hasn't really gotten any harder, but man, does it feel like it until you do it the
Hmm.
first time. So, yeah. That's great awareness. I love
Yes.
it, ladies.
Yes.
All right. Well, to recap, the three keys to resilience in life and business are definitely your words, reframe your challenge, and talk nice to yourself. We're so hard on ourselves. and focus. Shift from obstacles to solutions. You definitely need solutions and action. Just keep moving. Just even if it's a small step, keep moving. Have a quick story of my older son. My older son is definitely a bigger than life kind of personality. He's physically 6'1", big, brawny guy. And if somebody comes to him and says, "Oh, I'm afraid I can't do this, or I won't, put it together right, I'm not going to do this," he always says, "Well, what's the worst that could happen?" And most of the time, the worst that could happen really isn't that bad. So he's like, "Well, then just send it. Just do it." That's his
Mhm.
big thing. He says to everybody, "Just send it." And I think if we all did that more often, we would get so many things accomplished, but our hesitation just holds it back. So I hope the next time you have a challenge, or even today, you can tell yourself, "It's okay. I'm really smart. I know a lot." Look on the bright side, find that one positive thing, and take a small step towards your action. Because resilience isn't about never falling, because you're going to fall, but it's about always rising. It's always not letting it defeat you. And you have everything inside to persist and win. You really do. You just have to decide, am I going to freeze and sink, or am I going to fight? So thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate that. My real business is I own a screen printing company. So I have a download guide for branding. If anybody would like that, has some great tips on branding your business. So thanks for having me, Mary.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. I'm grabbing a screenshot of this as well so I can save it with your QR code and we can put that up on the website. So, and on our YouTube channel, right? And follow, like, and subscribe our YouTube channel. We got to get more people there.
That's awesome.
So, yes, thank you so much, Suzanne. As you can see, she has learned so much in her 32 years of running a business, and how life can throw you these curveballs, right? This wasn't the life. She wasn't expecting to be a business owner when she got married, but life had different plans for her, and she's stepped up to the challenge in so many ways. I mean, if many of us had a check stealing ring hit us for $23,000, that would be devastating to us, right? So, and the economy sinks, and there's all kinds of challenges, and how are you going to make things happen in your business? What you first have to, I love that you said you have to let yourself cry for a few days, right? Give yourself time to experience the heartache or the heartbreak or whatever the challenge is throwing at you. And then how do you reframe it and how do you focus and go forward? So I love the message of your talk today. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank
And Suzanne does a lot of my branding materials. She comes up with some amazing creations, and you can just call her and say, "This is my budget. This is what I want to use these things for. I'm looking for something unique or something fun, or a small batch of something." She can work with whatever your budget is. And if you work with a nonprofit or a school that's raising money, she has these amazing websites where she can help you come up with merchandise. So if you're the person that always has to order the t-shirts for the school and then figure out who gets what size and hand them out, Suzanne can take all that off your plate, which is so great. So um,
you.
my daughter is in town. She came in town for a concert for this band from Germany. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I hope they have a cool t-shirt at the thing." And I talked to her this morning and she's like, "No, they had one
Oh,
ugly t-shirt. They didn't have stickers, they didn't have keychains. She was ready to spend money and they didn't have any merchandise for her to buy, right?" And so I was like, "They need a website." And she's like, "Even on their website, they have like one t-shirt and one sweatshirt and that's it. You
yeah.
can't buy anything." I was like, "I've got somebody." She's like, "Yeah, Mom, I'll just connect her with them. I don't know them." I was like, but there's
I
so many
love
people
it.
out there that need that. And Suzanne can take that off your plate and set up a cool website with all your merchandise and then take that delivery and all of that kind of stuff off your plate. So that's my plug for Suzanne because I know
Thank
I've worked
you.
with her personally and I know she's great at what she does. So,
Very good.
all right. So that is our today's Thrive Thursday masterclass. So if you are interested in being able to share your knowledge in this format where we can, again, record your masterclass and blast it out to all of our followers in the Leap for Ladies community, then consider joining the Leap for Ladies community. You can find all that information on the website successmagnified.com. And then if you do /join Leap, you will find all the information about that. And if you go to the events page on my website as well, you can find out when our next events are and you can come as a guest for free. So thank you for my co-host Whitney for being here with me today and participating. Thank you again, Suzanne, for being a LEAP member and for sharing your knowledge with us today. And we will just plan to see you at the next masterclass.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks.